Y'all know what day of the week it is. It's Thursday, my favorite day. I haven't been at community like the last couple of weeks and I've been sad, but I have an excuse because went to see Deadpool and I
Oh,
feel like that's
nice.
a very valid reasoning. So sorry I ain't been there, y'all. I apologize. But let's get back on track. We back here with my boy Chris like usual.
What up? What up?
I got a very special guest tonight and I'm very excited for him to be here. It's my boy Ryan, that
What it
ice
do?
cold edge.
Yes, sir.
So
One
to
and
give some
only.
backstory on Ryan, so when I first moved to Texas, we were both working at GameStop. And I think it's just like, I think it's kind of a cool story because when you hear like FGC and like, it's like, I think the best way to say it is like, if you know kind of thing. Because I met Ryan at work and like, I don't even play Tekken. He doesn't even really play Street Fighter, but it was just like a mutual like FGC eyes locked. You just knew you were like, my man, I feel you, dog.
Yes, sir.
Kind of thing.
100%.
So I mean, in the same, it's kind of funny because that's how Chris and I met. But we were in school, but it was just still like FGC kind of common ground kind of thing. And like, I think once you're in, you just like you either get it or you don't kind of thing. So when you meet a fellow person that understands, kind of where you're coming from, you just get it, and then you kind of just, hit it off from there. So I'm done talking for a little bit. I'm gonna let my boy Ryan talk. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Ryan. Tell us, about yourself. Tell us, where you're from. Tell us what got you into fighting games. How are you here right now with us?
Yeah, man. It's actually before I do that, I want to. You brought up an interesting point about the instant connection you have between people who are in fighting games. And this actually goes a little bit into my backstory as well. I am a distinguished brother of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. That's actually where part of my name from. That's where the Ice Cold came from. Um, but the fighting game community functions a lot like a fraternity does in that you have this worldwide network of people where you have this shared experience that you immediately get, like when you meet someone and you're like, okay, yeah, I've been to that event, or I've struggled through learning this game, or whatever. Like, you have a shared set of values and or trials or tribulations that you have to go through to kind of like get indoctrinated into this thing we call a fighting game community. So it has that, it has very much that feel to it. And a lot of my closest friends and greatest experiences in my life has been in the fighting game community. Much the same with like my fraternity or Nesby. I was a chapter president of Nesby as well in college also. So like it has that feel to it. But yeah, my name's Ryan Champ. I go by IceColdEdge. I've been in the fighting game community officially, if there is such an official thing, since August of 2002, because that is when I created my account on soulcaliber.com. Doesn't even exist anymore.
Oof.
Um, but yeah, I was my origin story is very much the same as a lot of people who get in the fighting game community. Back then, I was playing Soul Calibur 1 on the Dreamcast in college.
Ooh.
It's my fourth year in college, beating up my friends. I thought I was hot shit, just beating them up. And then Soul Calibur 2 came out in arcades. Arcades were still pretty much a thing. It's kind of towards the end of the arcade era. They're still a thing at that time. And at that time, the arcade system had like what's called guilds, like at every arcade or whatever. And they had a site where you could see where all the tournaments would be. And I went to a tournament at SHGL, stands for Southern Hills Golfland, which turns out to be like one of the last like legendary arcades on the West Coast. I'm originally from California, by the way, so this is
Okay.
Southern California. And back then, I went to this tournament, and like a lot of like these like people you would consider big names, like Eris avoiding the puddle, him, Tidy Whitey, like all these like Soul Calibur, Soul Southern California like legends. They played there. So I went there, got destroyed, obviously. Uh, but after that, I was hooked. There's just really nothing like it, and I guess I could say that like my personality is one that's drawn to something like that. Uh, I grew up in LA as the youngest of six boys.
Ooh.
I mean, I have nine brothers and sisters, or 10 brothers and sisters total. But I was the youngest. I was number nine at the time, and the youngest of six boys in LA in the '80s. So
Man,
I
y'all
was,
are one shy of a whole football team. Like you could play offense, defense.
Look at a whole 6 man, bro.
for real, for real. So I grew up in the '80s in LA with a bunch of boys and a dad who loved basketball. So that's all we talked about, like basketball and the Lakers. and music. My family is pretty musically inclined as well. But I always had this kind of like competitive streak, I guess, to a certain degree. And I had channeled all of that into basketball most of my young life. Once I got to college, and it was apparent that like a 5'7", 5'8.5", 170 some pound kid is not going to play D1 college basketball. I actually started going to what's called Zot Zone at UC Irvine. It was like a rec center, and they had a Soul Calibur 2 machine there. And that's where those same people I mentioned, like Eris and Chet Chetty's another one, like these old school like names that you would know if you were into SoCal arcade culture at the time. They would train there. So I just kind of started to funnel my competitive energy into that. When I started going to tournaments, I almost immediately started thinking, oh, we should actually run tournaments. This is actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of like my origins of the FGC. I graduated from college in 2003, and then moved to Texas for grad school at SMU.
Okay.
I thought that I wanted to be a game developer since I love games so much. So I moved here. I enrolled at the Guildhall at SMU. I'm in the first class of graduates from that program. And then during that time, I also heavily played lots of early Soul Calibur 2, Tekken 5 when that came out. Really, the Tekken and Soul Calibur series I basically followed since that time. Also played MK9 and MKX competitively in Injustice 1. But I settled on Tekken. I'm mostly a Namco guy, but I settled on Tekken because I got kid and a wife, and those take up time, and it's hard enough to be good at one game, much less two. So around when Tekken 7 and Soul Calibur 6 were both kind of hot at the same time, I chose to focus just on Tekken. And so that's the game I play now.
Tekken 5 is a very so I don't play Tekken like to that level. Every time a new Tekken comes out, I dabble in it, kind of play around. Like I love the characters. Like if I was to sit down and play a second game that isn't like a Capcom fighter, because like I play Marvel as well, it would be Tekken for sure. And it's like you said, it kind of comes down to I barely play Street Fighter as is, so trying to play another fighting game is just like it's very overwhelming for me. Not in the sense that like I don't think I could do it, more of along the lines of do I have the time to do it, to get to that level that I want to be at. Because I think once you're kind of in the FGC and like you're starting to play, like everybody always has that goal of like, yo, I want to be good. Like I want to be able to kind of beat some people. And like I know one of my personal goals is to, go back to Colorado and bust some heads, because I never got to do that. I was always like the tournament organizer. I always ran stuff. It was I always got more like enjoyment out of like watching my friends succeed and being there to cheer them on, and like running. Like I ran a tournament in Colorado and the payout was $1,000 for first place, and like that was huge for like Colorado.
That was
like
Street Fighter 4, so
yeah, it was massive.
Yeah,
like,
I bet that was big.
Just to get stuff like that, and we had people coming in from Arizona and all sorts of stuff like that. So my whole idea, and it's kind of like what inspired me to kind of, I don't want to say I started just Marauders, but like doing Marauders with friends, because that was my goal. It was like I don't want to see people grow and do that. So Tekken 5 holds a very special place in my heart, because Tekken 5 was, I got the HRAP bundle with it, and that was my first ever arcade stick. So like
that was rare.
Yeah.
And I've told this story once before on here, but like I remember getting it, and like I was like, oh, I want to paint this. I want it to be custom. I want it to be different. And like it was soldered. So like I don't know how to solder, dude. Like I probably could have took the time to do it, but like it ain't happening. Kind of thing. But just you say Tekken 5 and I'm like, oh man. I also remember, it's funny too, because like I also feel like when you get into fighting games, like beginning people, you get on an arcade stick, and like I remember one of the first things, because everyone always says like, well, how do you hold the stick or whatever kind of thing, but like I remember being on it and being like, what is this square gate? This is so weird. Like how do you guys do quarter circles and not like like kind of thing? And now I get on a cabinet and there's like a circle gate, and I'm like, oh, what is happening?
Don't let it be a
Yeah.
P360 on there. You just looking for corners, trying to
Yeah,
Right.
I miss corners so
where's
often.
down back? Where's down back?
Yeah,
at?
yeah. We have an arcade up the street from my house, and like everything is on like hap levers and buttons, and I'm like, I miss so many corners and charges and weird things like that. So I do want to kind of rewind because you said you ended up with like Tekken and Soul Calibur kind of thing because the wife and kids. But how did you like? Did you walk into the arcade and you were like, or you were at the store and you saw Soul Calibur and you were like, this is it, this is the one, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. So I had access to like a vibrant kind of arcade culture when I was much younger, I probably would be a Street Fighter player, just because in the like late 90s and like all that, like that was
Yeah,
super hot. Like you could go into a
everywhere. Yeah,
liquor store and like, as a matter of fact, I remember someone taking me to a liquor store, but I was a kid and I like didn't know how to block. It was like a very hazy memory of us going to a liquor store and there's like a bunch of dudes like around a machine and he's like holding the stick for me to block and all this. But I just didn't have like the wherewithal to really get into it like that. But so again, Soul Calibur 2 came about because I was playing Soul Calibur 1 at home with friends. And so I got into Soul Calibur 2 because I love Soul Calibur 1 on Dreamcast so much. And everybody had that game.
yeah.
If you had a Dreamcast, you had Soul Calibur 1. Like that and like Marvel 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what started it. And then when I moved to Texas, I was still like an active Soul Calibur 2 player. And then that's when I met Eddie Pistons and Jop and Gen Kid. Well, Jop wasn't there at the time, but Eddie Pistons, Gen Kid, the guy who ended up being my training partner at the time, Jaeger. He was in grad school with me, and I introduced fighting games to him. So when Soul Calibur 2 dropped on the console, like we were just like thick as thieves, like always playing. And then we started traveling in the state of Texas, going to tournaments. We went down to Einstein's at Austin's legendary Austin Arcade. We went to Houston. We met the guys from San Antonio. Actually, one of my good friends from San Antonio, Nori. We met back then in the Soul Calibur 2 days, and it was the time of the internet rivalry, like hardcore, like where everybody was on message boards talking. Everybody had their city specific threads, and then there was tournament threads, and people were talking shit before, talking shit after, and it was all this was before social media, so it was all funneled through these like message boards,
Yeah, the
like
forums and stuff.
yeah, all forums like SoulCalibur.com, Tekken Zaibatsu. Like we were like, that's how our rivalries were formed and ultimately our friendships and stuff.
I think that's one of the things that like I kind of miss in modern FGC. Like I have yet to see the Texas scene really, but like I still go back home to visit Colorado and stuff, and I just remember being there and it was like I'll just be honest, we were like, yo, fuck Denver. Like that's just how it was. Like
Yeah.
it was Springs versus the world. I still have my Nike shirt that says Colorado Springs versus the world that I got made at Evo one year because it was just like that's how we felt. Like
Yeah.
and to be Springs is like, bro, we were like, what would you say, Chris? Like a quarter, half the population of Denver?
I don't even like I can't even say. Like we're the second largest city, but like Springs is like what 300,000, and there's over 1 million in Denver.
Yeah. So I mean, probably a quarter. Like we'll just say a
Yeah.
quarter. But like, if we would go up to Denver and like, I mean, we wouldn't win everything, but I remember Springs would roll deep. And what I mean by deep, there was 5 or 6 of us, and we would still win a couple of tournaments. And you're like, yo, how you let 6 people from Springs come through and take your money type thing?
Yeah.
I was never part of the taking of the money, but man, I would be the shit talker. You would know I was there, kind of thing.
Man, there's nothing like those like early trips where we would go in a car. It'd be like 2 or 3 carloads of people. We drive down to Austin or drive down to Houston or drive to San Antonio. We just like talk shit and like stop at Buc-ee's and like all that stuff. One time, actually, so one of my good friends, his gamer name is The Chief. He's really big into Marvel 2 and also was one of the highest level Guilty Gear players back at that time. He had a Camaro and he had a screen with an Xbox hooked up to it in his car. So we literally played Soul Calibur 2 all the way down, all the way back for a tournament.
Yeah.
So that time period was very, very unique. There's nothing.
Bro, Chris had it was a WinStar but we called that shit the win star because you was getting in that and somebody was coming home with a dub. And like, bro, it was like the perfect commuter van. Like it hold like 6 or 7 people. And, like we was just deep,
rocking
bro.
that
That's
win
awesome.
star, rocking my parents' win star to tournaments, bro.
Yup.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And like, man, we would get there, we would leave, man, 8 in the morning.
Yeah, because I gotta
And we
pick
wouldn't
up
be
all.
getting home till
Gotta pick up everybody.
1:32 a.m. kind
'Cause
of thing.
You was the
Like,
only one that could drive. Everyone else had to go pick
Yup.
all of them up. So
yep. So I'd grab a few on the way, and then we'd grab the rest, and then we'd go up to Denver and try to bust some ass type thing. So
Yeah,
I also think it's funny too that you said you're like, oh, I got into the community and I got my ass beat, and it's like I want to find that one person that got into the community and I was like off the rip was kind of decent, because I feel like everybody's
There's a couple.
experience is the same.
there's a couple. There's a
there are a
couple.
few. I mean, there are a few who are like that. They were just automatically good when they showed up. I think Anakin was kind of like that. And
That makes sense.
so was Job. Like there's some people who are just uniquely talented, I think, at the game. Even the Evers brothers. So the people who are in the like Soul Calibur community, they know of Sean, David, and Chris Evers, the Evers brothers. Sean Evers goes by Link RKC. David goes by Alpha Male, and Chris went by a litany of names, but like Nightmare VC and whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, but those dudes, the 3 of them, they showed up to a TIT 6, I'm pretty sure, and nobody had ever heard of them. They were like 15, 12, and 10 at the time. Super.
For people
young.
that don't know, TIT was tournament in Texas, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was a long running tournament series back in the day. I'm pretty sure they had the first $1,000 tournament in Texas. It was run by my guy Eddie Pistons, who a legendary Tekken player. He's one of the people responsible for starting the competitive community for Tekken, and also made top 4 at Evo Tekken 4 in Evo 2K3.
This is one thing I will say that since I moved out here that kind of surprises me. Like I said, I haven't been to the community a lot yet, but we're working on something on the side that I'm hoping I get out to do more of. Is I feel like Texas would have a lot more majors, but I know COVID kind of derailed. I can't even imagine Texas, but I mean, I remember for a while there before COVID, it was like, dude, there was a tournament every weekend on Twitch. Spooky was like literally, I don't even know how he went home, because like he was always at some tournament kind of thing. So like, I remember there used to be Absolute Battle, and that one was more DFW focused. And then I know Texas Showdown still happens, and that's in Houston. And then I don't think I was here when tournament in Texas was a thing, because I've been here 7 or 8 years.
Yeah,
so it's been
era before.
Yeah. Sad times.
I think I still got some Texas Showdown DVDs, man. Man, that one year OTK came for CVS2, I used to run that back so hard. And then I had my Third Strike DVDs and watching Shin Chang play.
Yeah, man.
Bro, it's a different time, man. You couldn't just get on like YouTube.
Nope, I had to
be like, let me watch this run back.
Buy the DVD.
Pay $50 for a stack of DVDs, and they burnt it at someone's house because they had the label on there. It just says Texas Showdown 6 or whatever.
Bro, I still got a handwritten Evo. I think it's 2K3, 2K4, and 2K5 in a drawer somewhere.
Yep.
I'm like, I'll never watch these again. But man, it's cool to have that, kind of thing if I wanted to.
Yep.
So speaking of Evo, I think I've been to 7 or 8 of them. I think Ryan has me beat because he pretty much makes it like a yearly trip, right?
Yeah, it's basically annual for me. I think I've only missed 1 or 2 since 2003, 2004.
Damn, that's a lot. That's impressive. I was like, 7 or 8. I'm putting in work.
I missed 2 I think 2 or 3 up until 2018, and then 2018 was my last one I've been to.
You gotta get Chris back out.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was looking. I mean, we're gonna get into it, but it's looking like it might be try to come back next year.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah,
it's so you did get to go. So I would love to hear your thoughts. Let me rewind. Tell me how Evo went. Give me your experience, ups, downs, ins and outs, everything, because this was like the first year that it was at this new big venue. So I'm sure it was crazy. Last year was absolutely nuts, so I can't even imagine what this year was like, because I heard there was even more people there.
Mhm.
So I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback on the tournament itself or your
Yeah.
experience.
So I'll give a little background on my Evo experience too. So the first Evo I went to, I'm pretty sure was 2003. I'm pretty sure it's 2003 or 2004, but it wasn't in Vegas. It was at Cal Poly Pomona in California. And before that, I think it was in Cal Poly Pomona 2 or 3 times, and before that, it was like in Northern California somewhere.
Mhm.
And so I've been kind of hooked on it since then. The one Evo I didn't go to that I can remember, and I'm probably sure there's one more I didn't go to, but the one I didn't go to was the first Tekken 5 Evo when they had the big USA versus Japan thing. A bunch of my friends went, but I didn't go for work purposes, I think. And since then, it definitely been like an annual pilgrimage for me, and it's evolved over the years, based on it's actually interesting. Like the trip kind of reflects like what's going on in my life, more or less how it ends up. There was a period of time before it was at Mandalay Bay, because it was at Mandalay Bay for a lot of years in a row,
Oh,
where it was uh, at the convention center, but I don't think it's the place where it was this year. But it was over there by the way. It was like connected to the West Gate over there
yeah,
on that
I remember
side.
that year.
Yeah.
And then that next year it moved to Mandalay Bay, and everybody's taking the monorail back and forth.
Yeah.
But I've been to Evos at the Rio. There's been Evo at Caesars, at Tropicana. Actually, the one at Tropicana, I think Tekken wasn't even played. There wasn't even a game for me to play. I was just there. Um,
So
uh,
crazy.
yeah, there's been a couple at Paris and Bally's,
Mhm.
um, all over. And there was one off the strip once at Green Valley Ranch.
Yep.
I went to that one for
I
for
think that was my
DR.
first one, I think, because I think that was '05, and I think that was my first one.
Yeah. So yeah, there's been a lot of Evos, but
So I got
this.
lucky, is what you're telling me, because my first Evo was Caesar's Palace. The very first year they did
Oh
Caesars,
yeah,
and
Yeah,
it was fire.
that was a
Like
good
that
one.
venue was
yeah,
Also,
cool.
I will say the off-the-strip ones were pretty awesome because everything was in the venue. So
hmm
like that was the one where I would walk around. I would listen for buttons. I would listen for buttons. I'd be like, "Y'all play a third strike in there?" And
yes,
and yeah,
yes.
had a Fat
That's a
Burger right
classic.
downstairs in the courtyard. They had a movie theater. I remember we all watched Snakes on the Plane in the theater. Just everyone from Evo watching Snakes on the Plane and cheering when he said, "I'm tired of these goddamn snakes," and everyone's cheering.
Tired of this motherfucking snake on this motherfucking plane.
And
Yeah,
the whole theater was just people for Evo, and everyone just going, "Ah, he said it."
sick. That's sick. Yeah, the classic going down the hallway listening for buttons and like, is this the game I'm playing? Yeah, well, actually, I
So
literally talked about that with my friends this year because we were talking about how are we gonna get games or whatever. I'm like, yeah, we got to do the classic. We gotta go up and down, going up and down the aisle, listen for buttons.
Yep. You hear
well, you guys
um,
used to do like a suite and stuff too back in the day,
yeah,
right?
so I was gonna talk about that. So when we made the switch to Mandalay Bay, um, we were like, okay, we're gonna get one of these big corner suites and like make it a thing. Like as long as we get enough people, like in the power of collective finances is pretty high. As long as we get enough people, we can afford to have this like huge room where we have two large bedrooms and a large living room area, and we can just get everyone to come in there and play. We did that for 3 years straight. It was
That's
awesome.
dope.
Every, not every, but a lot of the top players that you see in Tekken tournaments came through our room. Qdons, Secret, Book, Dojin, top American players, top Australian players. Actually, some of my good friend Brown Man from Australia. He's a commentator mostly now, but he's a coach for Yagami, who's basically the Reina of Australia. I met him in 2019. He came to the EO Suite and brought all the Aussies, Dion Gray, Rec, Alchemist, like all of these Australian players, and we like literally the Sunday night because everybody was leaving the following day. That Sunday night after finals over, we go straight to there's like a liquor store or whatever, convenience store right across from where the Mandalay Hotel is. We
Hmm.
went over there, got tons of like Red Bulls and shit, and we're like, okay, it's 8 p.m. now. We're gonna start playing, and we're not stopping until the sun comes up. And it was like people coming in and out. Like I'm going down to pull people up. I mean, it was just nonstop, and it was amazing. Um, so yeah, the the old school Dallas Tekken suite, it was a thing, and I'm pretty sure that we're gonna bring it back next year.
Yeah, that sounds fire. So we got the first year that I went to Evo was at Caesars, and we had one of our friends was like just out and about. I don't even remember what he was doing, but like Filipino champ needed help or some
Oh
shit.
yeah,
And
yeah.
he helped him out, and he was like, "Hey man, I appreciate your help. You should come up to the Salty Suite tonight." So this is like my first Evo, and we're at the Salty Suite, and like tournaments are hype, but you want to see some real shit. You get in a suite, and those money matches start flowing.
Yeah.
And it's people throwing around like heavy change for money matches, and you're like, all right, dog, like
Yep.
you put that $1,200 down on this first to 10 or first to 5 or whatever, and like to me, like, so that was my first Evo, so I'm sitting in there and I'm like thinking this is normal, like this is every year, like yo, we're gonna be in the Salty Suite every year.
Honestly, like I always ended up around Marvel players, so to me that was normal because Marvel players are quick to throw out a few $100 off of nothing. So I was like, yeah, this is what it's not what it's like every time. Cause,
Yeah, it was just fire. Like, so like you guys see stuff on tournaments, like you're watching the stream, but then you get to, if you can get those people out of the tournament atmosphere, it's just a completely different environment.
Like,
So
yeah.
we're there, and like fucking Yipes is there, and like, bro, I mean, just the like, that is just him as a person. That is not like, oh, you just see that because that's who he is on stream, bro. No. Like that level of energy just stays there, and I remember we're all in there and he's just in the background. It was actually Halfro. You know, Halfro always plays like on American parts, always.
You know how hard he hits some buttons.
Yeah. So Yipes is in the background like, oh, this nigga loves some guy because he's playing guy in Street Fighter, and it's just do just loud ass buttons.
He's like, he hitting a button. This nigga loves some guy.
Yeah.
So I'm there, and it's like my first year, and I'm thinking like, oh, this is normal. Like, this is what it's gonna be every year. Don't get me wrong, I still love Evo, but like that first Evo for me was just so hype because of that. Like, so I can't even imagine having my own suite and just being like dictating what you guys kind of want to do, and things along those lines. Like that sounds so dope.
So here's the thing, a little pro tip, proviso, whatever, for people who attend tournaments. Like the true value of traveling for events is making connections with people you don't normally get to make connections with. Do not be a person who goes to a tournament, plays, 2 to 4 matches, goes 0-2, goes 2-2, and go back to your room and go to sleep. I didn't meet anybody. I went to the tournament. I did okay. And then I left. You're missing out on the lion's share of the value of when you travel to tournaments. And it doesn't have to be, and this is something that I had to get in my mind. It doesn't have to be that you have to be some top player necessarily to cultivate the experience that we're talking about. You can do this with anyone, regardless of your level. Like if you're brand new, you can meet other people who are brand new. As a matter of fact, the vast majority of the people who go to the tournaments are brand new, who are at your level. So all you have to do, and I try to make this a point whenever I go to a tournament, is that whenever I sit down to play with someone, I ask their name. Where are you from? Who did you come alone? Like, tell me about a little bit more about the person behind, the person I'm playing with. Not only do you get to know them better, and that helps you form your network. So the next time you can see that person, like, oh, do you want to get games? Or, oh, you guys have a suite over here. Like that starts that, but also it enriches your experience. Like I played somebody from Guam. I don't even know where the fuck Guam is, but I played, and this is a true story. This is actually from Evo last year. Evo this year. I played a long set with this guy. He's like a June player, top June player from Guam. He came to my room to play Yagami, actually. Yagami, Reina of Australia, who I happen to know because I had that experience in 2019 with the Australians. Now the top Reina player, one of the best Reina players in the world, is in my room. And this guy from Guam is coming to play him. So like these experiences come from just being open to the idea of saying, hey bro, where are you from? Like I might be new, I might not be new, whatever. Just like bring the human element to the person you're playing against, and you'll understand why offline events are so much different than playing online. Of course, the arcades are always open online. There's nothing wrong with that. But you get a truly different level of enrichment and experience when you make connections with people when you travel for tournaments. So don't ever, if you ever meet me, I don't ever want to see you do one of two things. Do not go to a tournament and spend most of your time playing people you came with. Stop that. Number two, when you go and you play other people, make sure you get some information on who they are and where they're from. It pays off in dividends in the months and years that you do it consistently. It's super, super important.
My man's dropping knowledge. I hope y'all are listening, because this is big. There's a tournament. I don't want to say tournament. There's one of the largest LAN parties in North America is in Texas every year. It's called QuakeCon. So we used to go to QuakeCon every year. I haven't gone since COVID. And honestly, it's just because things keep lining up at the same time. So like last year, it was the same weekend as Evo. And I'm like, bro, like we went to Evo, we went to Vegas. I got proposed. I proposed to my fiance. Like it was just, things were more important on this other kind of, thing. So this year, QuakeCon is literally the weekend of my family reunion. So this is back-to-back years that I'm missing it. But like what he's saying is so important, because like when I used to go to QuakeCon, the people I would go with, like, they just sit at their computers and just play games all day. And I'm like, yo, I'm down to play games. Don't get it wrong. That's the point of going. But also at the same time, it's to walk around and meet people and like join communities and get to know other people and run events and things along those lines. So like this is so important, especially like when you are, and like it's funny too, because like if you sit down and all you do is say, hey, what's your name, where are you from, whatever, that opens up so many doors, because a lot of people won't do that. A lot of people are very timid and like intimidated by like being at their first major. And that's like something we had to kind of tell one of the players in moonmarauders, because this was his first Evo. And he's like, yo, man, I'm going to go up against killers. And I'm like, yes and no. Like, yeah, there are killers there. But like, man, when you have 6,000 people or, 4,500 people in a bracket, ain't all of them killers, man. Like, you're going to run in, like your first couple of matches are probably going to, I don't want to say be warm-up matches, but they're going to be lighter unless, you get matched up with a high-level player type of thing, kind of thing. And it's like, it's just people go and they put so much pressure on themselves. And at the end of the day, you're in Vegas, you're at Evo, have fun, man. Like, I feel like that's the most important part.
Have fun and take in the experience. Like one thing that's been helpful for me, and one thing I'm working on, I've been doing this for a very long time. I'm still learning. I'm still like trying new things. One thing that's been huge for me in the last, I'd say, few months is this concept of acceptance. This idea of like, I'm going to go there. I'm going to do whatever I know how to do, my best stuff. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, great. It's okay. Just accept what is happening and try to take the lesson from it. Don't resist this idea like, oh, people are going to be watching me or I might do well or I might not do well. The outcome is, I don't want to say predetermined, but like the outcome is the outcome. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Just make sure you put your best effort out there and be accepting of what is going to happen. If you are open and accepting of that, you feel less nervous. It's like I struggle with tournament anxiety real bad for a long time.
Yeah.
And this concept of acceptance has really helped me. Like even if I'm a little nervous at first and it starts bad, like, okay, it's bad. It's okay. Like what happened? Let's adjust and let's continue. Like that concept really helps me a lot. Also, I want to give a quick shout out because he'll be pissed if I don't. This concept of like making sure you play matches with other people and don't just play your tournament matches against your friends. I actually learned that fairly recently in my career in Tekken 7. So my close training partners are the Realist, originally from New York, now lives here in Dallas, and Sosa. And he goes by Bacardi Papi. I told him I'd never call him that, but his name is Sosa. His original gamer name is Sosa. He's from Puerto Rico, and we travel as a little threesome, a pack of three. Hold on, hey yo,
Threesome, y'all heard it.
We travel as a pack of three, and the Realist is really one of the first people who implanted this in my mind. Like a lot of like old school Dallas culture, like Eddie Pistons and all that stuff, they got me hype about like competing and having confidence in yourself and love for like the city of Dallas and what it represents. But like good practice habits and how to get the most out of your tournament experience when you travel, and making sure you're playing these people who are in scene and playing at a high level, making sure you're getting games against those people and spending time playing those people. That's something that I cultivated over Tekken 7, which I say is recent, but Hell, the game, I have a big Tekken 7 poster in my office.
Ugh.
That game came out in 2017. 2017,
Yeah.
7 years ago. But yeah, over that time period is where I really cultivated that. And so I want to make sure my boy gets a shout out for being the one that got me on that. And I'm a huge believer in that now.
Yeah, I agree. Like I go to I go to out of state tournaments, and I actually tend to do better in out of state tournaments than in state. And I think that's partially because of the reason it's like when I'm in an in state tournament, I have this mindset of like I don't want to embarrass myself in front of people that I know, kind of thing. And then I go to an out of state tournament and I do better because my mindset is like I'll never see these people again. I don't, kind of thing. Like I'm in Evo and I'm in this giant pool and I'm like I will never see these 25 people again, kind of thing, except for tomorrow if you make it out of your pool or whatever kind of thing.
The mind is such a funny thing because I'm such the exact opposite. Coming in, like I do much better against people that I know, people that I've played before, people I've had long sets with, versus people that I don't know, because in my mind, like I don't know what they know. They could be like super smart and they could like read whatever I'm doing, and what I'm doing is lame and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And like so talk myself down against people that I don't know. But if I do know them, no matter how good they are, if I've played them before, I generally will do better. So it's like it's so funny that like the brain, like your brain plays crazy tricks on you when it comes to like performance psychology. It's insanely interesting.
Yeah. And I think a part of that is because I played Madden competitively before.
Oh, I didn't know
my
that.
mindset, yeah. So before I started playing fighting games, I was super heavy into Madden. Like I've always been a big football fan. I played for like 11 years. Like sports was my life until probably my junior year of high school. And I just kind of fell out of love with it because I was playing since I was 6. So I just got to a point where I was like, I just don't want to do this anymore. But like sun up, we were outside hooping football, whatever. Sundown, we were going inside to play more sports games kind of thing. So like I was that Madden on the block type thing. Like, I ran it. And but like I always had the same kind of mindset when like Madden, I think that kind of transfers over into fighting games because I'm a run first type of person. So like I'm gonna run the ball. If you can't stop me from running the ball, why would I stop doing it? Kind of thing. So when I play in tournaments, I kind of have the same mindset. Like I'm gonna make you show me that you know how to stop this kind of thing. And I think that's like like it's almost like a bar. Like, do you know how to handle this? You don't. I'm gonna keep doing this shit, kind of thing. And I think that's one of our mutual friends. His name is Shogun. Like, I remember this was like Street Fighter 4 days or 5 days or something, and he was like, when I play in a tournament, like, that first time I get knocked down, I'm uppercutting your ass because I'm just like I'm letting you know that I'm not afraid to let it rip, type thing. Like. So the next time you get that knockdown, you're going to be second guessing like, oh, do I press a button here? Kind of thing. So I think that kind of like you said, that mindset kind of works just in so many different avenues where you're like, check to see if you can do this type thing, throughout it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Respect nobody. And then I'll say that extends to like play people. I've been in multiple tournaments and I've gotten matches with high level people because people they rather stand there and watch them play rather than sit down because they don't want to embarrass themselves. They want to give you, bro. You know how many times I've played Daigo throughout the years because people see it's Daigo and they just be like, oh, it's Daigo, and like anyone got next? It's like, nah, it's Daigo. I'm like, oh, anyone got that? Yeah, I know it's Daigo. Exactly. That's why I'm here, bro. I want to play the best.
I'm trying to play this.
I'm trying to play the best. I'm trying to understand. And people and there'll be a 4-man rotation, but there'll be a crowd there watching them play, and no one's willing to step up because they don't want to get embarrassed because they don't feel like they're at the level. I'm like, how you think you're gonna get the level? You don't know what the level's like. You gotta experience it. Like last combo breaker I went to, Alioune from France. Me and him played for like a good hour and a half. Because and people come by, it's like, hey, you want to play? It's like, that's Alioune. I was like, yeah, I'm getting toasted right now. You want to play? And he's like, no. I'm like, all right, more games for me. Like,
bro, it's even more god like when you sit down and like you play that person and they start like giving you tips while you're playing, like and it's just like mutual. Like you're just playing somebody and they're like, you may not have a lot of knowledge about that character, or you're losing to them consistently, and they're like, oh, this is what you're looking for when I do this, like. This is what I'm looking for, type thing. And it's like, it's always like one of the running things that we say, because like I play card games competitively as well. So like in the matchup, and you're like, yo, I really struggle with this matchup. The thing that people always say is go play that character, because while you're playing that character, the thing that you absolutely hate going up against or whatever, but when you're piloting it, you're like, bro, this is not as good as I thought,
Mhm.
kind of thing. Or, oh, damn, when I do that, I get blown up for it. So what am I doing wrong with my main character or whatever? Or you could just be like Ryan and play King and just grab everybody. So,
Oh, King player. Oh goodness, I was not informed of this before he was invited to this podcast. I might have vetoed this.
Hey man, King. I tell
I,
everybody, King is a fair, balanced, neutral Tekken character. You know what I'm saying? He just plays
tracking
fair Tekken.
throws, bro. Come on.
I love King, so
Well,
I'm
they
okay
took
with
that
it.
out. They
Oh, they
okay,
did.
okay,
Okay, I might have to
okay.
jump back
Tracking
in.
throws is a little OD. It was a little
I might have to
obnoxious.
jump back
Okay,
in after
but they took the tracking throws out. But yeah, man, King is fair. He's just cool. He's chilling. You know what I'm saying? King is always upper mid in any Tekken. People, well, at every Tekken since basically DR. People always like when Tekken 7 came out, it was like, oh man, King is a problem. I mean, he's very good. He's a good character, but
I feel like he's a knowledge check character.
he can be for sure. My right now in Tekken 8, me and my friends are running joke is like they say King is like the cheapest shit ever. But we all play cheap characters. Like the realist plays Dragunov, it's like top one character in the game.
Right.
And Sosa plays Victor.
He's top 2, not 1 or not 2.
Look at all these.
Right.
Look at all these
So
cheap.
like they all played nonsense characters. They talk about King. King been in the game since Tekken 0.
Yeah, it's like the thing with Street Fighter 6 right now. There's so many tier lists, and Zangief is top tier, and I'm like, will we stop this, please? Like, Geef is always good in Street Fighter, but he's not top tier, bro.
People hate when grapplers are at the top, bro. It's
Yeah,
like
as they
grappler
should.
discrimination.
They
Grappler
should.
discrimination.
They
I won't
deserve-
stand for it.
Grapplers deserve nothing. This is a life you chose. The life you chose was walk and block, and that's what you need to do. I don't have the geef hate. I don't have the geef hate like some people do. But King, boy, that King was especially as so me personally. I have tried to play Tekken over time, but Tekken is a heavy legacy game where each Street Fighter, it's pretty much you got some footsies, you got some fundamentals, but the game itself, the mechanics, the engine is pretty much a new game. So you can get into a new Street Fighter kind of like fresh. Tekken has always been such a heavy legacy game. It's hard to get into. So this is the first time I put any I got like a couple hundred hours in 8, and that's the first time I played any real time into Tekken. I've tried playing since DR because that was like the first game first game for me where it was in the arcade, had Japanese sticks on it, so I could go from my home console stick to the arcade. The card system was cool. I was like, that's so cool to track your stuff. And I've tried, but like that legacy knowledge is so tough. Like my Street Fighter 2D brain could not comprehend that +4 doesn't mean I don't have all the options in the world.
Oh yeah, no.
And they step guard. How about step guard? It's like, yeah, you should just step guard every time. I'm like, what are you talking about, bro?
Step guard?
So you basically you're doing a sidestep into to blocking immediately. So you you sidestep, you can do like a long step or you can do like a short step. So you can just and the thing is you could be +4, which in Street Fighter, bro, +4, I dare you to press a button. Please. Right. Tekken's +4 means I'm sidestep. I'm gonna risk this sidestep. I hope you gonna have to hard call it out, bro. Otherwise I'm over here and I'm oh shit. Oh shit,
okay.
No.
Okay, so he's partially telling the truth. Yeah, I mean, +4 Street Fighter means a big deal because you have like 2, 3, 4 frame normals in that game. Well, if you have to basically multiply that by a factor of 10 for Tekken because the jabs are 10 frames and there are a few moves that break that, like Yoshi's Flash can be 6 frames or 8 frames, but mostly you're thinking 10 frames is like the fastest thing a person can do. So when you're +4, that means that you have options, but you don't have all the options. They have some defensive options too. And he's right. Step guard is a good kind of non-committal but somewhat evasive thing to do. But you can also use that against someone who's step guarding a lot. Because yes, like if he takes the immediate timing there and he jabs, for example, then he's going to be, especially depending on the character, like you're playing against Alyssa or Lily or somebody like that, that she's over there when you're doing that. But if you have somebody who likes step guard a lot, you can then dash forward into them and do either like a delayed counter hit move or continue your offense or whatever, because dashing forward realigns you. Because if they're sidestepping, what they're not doing is attacking. So step guard is good because it gives you the evasion and it blocks. But again, it's like kind of a non-committal step. So because of that, they don't have as much evasion. So as King, for example, against step guarders, I can just dash up and throw. Now you have a problem. or then they start to do then they have like option selects where they like step guard, step duck type of stuff, and you have to change your timing up, and like the onion unpeels from there. But yeah, there's a lot of things you can do. It's just like a little subtleties here and there.
Yeah, Tekken was just like so hard for me to like grasp, because like it was that when you come from Street Fighter where it was like, yo, 3-frame jabs, and then you go into like Tekken and it's like, yo, 10 frames. I'm like, dog, that's like a fierce button.
Yeah, for real. 10
Street
frames is
Fighter,
so
like,
crazy to me to be like, I'm playing. So I mean, I'm playing Reina. She's just awesome. And then I tend to like execution characters, so I like electric. So like even when I wasn't playing Tekken, I just loaded up and do some electrics just to be like, yeah, I could still do some electrics. So I'm playing Reina, but she does make sense to me as a Street Fighter player with 442 and the options and having that. So it made sense to me there. But yeah, but like. That unlocked my brain because I was just like, oh, so that means I can do that. You track and I'm a wave dash, and if you duck, I'm getting this. So you're getting fucked up. So like that, like Tekken 7, I tried a little bit. I played a little Kazumi, and I was like, she throws a tiger, and I'm like, I want to throw tigers at people. She has a literal tiger uppercut, so I'm like, I'm about to do this. And again, like each time there's been a little pieces where I'm like, okay, I understand the idea of poking. I'm watching Arslan. I'm watching the way, like, he's literally a poke heavy. He's just, all I'm doing is I'm reading your defense options and I'm poking. And it slowly starts to make sense. But Tekken is definitely one of, like, if I know people say VF is like the deepest game, but Tekken is so tough to get into as a new game. Props to anybody out there who's, like, getting into a new version and becoming a top player. And I think that's also one of the things too when it comes to playing Tekken is like I'm used to being at a certain level in 2D games, and then to just be bad at Tekken, and I'm over here stuck in whatever, I don't know, purple ranks or whatever, and I'm like, bro, I would have been a master by now. In any other 2D game, the equivalent of God Destruction, I would have been had that, and now I'm over here, I'm still struggling. I'm over here.
It almost feels like you're relearning to walk, because like I remember playing on leverless for a little bit and being in Street Fighter, and I'm like, man, this is gonna take me a while. But then like Tekken 8 dropped and I played it on leverless, and I was like, it just feels so natural because the way the game works, and it doesn't have like quarter circles, but it has a lot of quick, intricate movements type of things. I'm like, man, it feels so great, kind of thing. So I do feel like you are relearning to walk, kind of thing, when you're going from 2D to a 3D game. It doesn't even have to be Tekken. I feel like that's any 3D game, because I mean, your core fundamentals is like you press up and you're not jumping. You're like, what the hell is going on? Like that kind of thing.
Like I just don't jump at all. I don't care about jumping, period. Unless I'm going for a hop kick. That's it.
Yeah, bro. And I made the transition from even within 3D games. So from Soul Calibur to Tekken was a huge thing for me, because Soul Calibur was my first competitive game, and then Tekken is after that. Soul Calibur has a block button.
I was literally gonna sit to that. That's why I can't play Soul Calibur. My brain does not understand hold button to guard. Yeah, I get taunts. I tried playing Soul Calibur. Got a lot of taunts because I would forget to let go of guard.
Yeah, and so there's just a lot to get used to. I feel the same way going to 2D games. Like I mentioned, I played MK also. So getting into MK 9 and MKX, total like mind fuck trying to like wrap my mind around it. And in the future, I'm gonna try to at least dabble, at least have a competent team for 2XKO. And it's gonna be rough. I already know. There are certain concepts like meta concepts about like controlling space and like footsies and all that work, but applying them in the right way and not jumping a whole bunch and like all that is like hard for a 3D person to kind of like really wrap your mind around. But
all right, so let's rewind back on Evo. So we kind of heard the positives, had a good time, did some golfing with the
I didn't even talk about that. Yeah.
Ryan's a big golfer, if you don't know.
Nice.
I would love to get. I disc golf. I always call that like the poor man's golf, because it was like I don't want to spend $1,000, $1,500 on some clubs when I can throw $20, $25 worth of disc on a fairway instead. So I do that. That's a lot of fun. So I know you went out and golfed. So I would like to hear kind of. So I've heard some negative things about Evo, but I want to hear like maybe what you thought of Evo outside of, because like the negatives that I heard was like payouts, like Punk didn't get paid properly for winning Street Fighter, but that got fixed, later on. So that's always been an issue with Evo, like the amount they charge people to get in, and then like the payouts is just like, kind of thing. So outside of like the general, like, heard it through the grapevine type of things, what would you say were like maybe some things you'd like to see them improve upon, or some things that you're like, eh?
Yes, I have a couple of those. Real quick, I did mention, and you briefly mentioned that my Evo trip generally reflects how my life is going. So the 2017 to 2019, we had the big Evo suite at Mandalay. COVID kills all that. Last year, I didn't do the suite because I haven't been playing as much. I didn't have a big group of people. We stayed at Caesars, I think, because I had like a voucher or some shit, and it was at Mandalay again. This year, we stayed at Resorts World, very nice hotel. And it was a small group of us, only 4 of us. So I didn't do a big suite, but because of the networking I mentioned before, I had a really nice long session after finals with people from all over. Talk about that later if you want. But I'll talk about the two things that I thought were negatives of Evo. First was a minor negative, is the water situation. So they give you a water bottle, right? And they're like, okay, well, I'm thinking, cool, they're gonna have water stations everywhere, so you can get water and all that. But that's actually not true. In that gigantic, however many 1,000 square foot venue, there was not a single water station at all. You had to leave the venue part to go outside to like some random convention center water fountain to get your water there. And that sucked because I was like mid tournament. I'm like, man, I'm thirsty. And I'm drinking, I'm heavily, like, very much a hydrate believer. I feel like it helps my nerves and all that. So I'm like, okay, I just lost. I need some time. I have some time for my next match. Let me grab some water. I walked all the way to the front of the thing, and like, hey man, I didn't see any water. Like the information booth, is there any water in here? It's like, no, you actually have to leave, like, to go get water. Like, doesn't even make any
Wasn't
sense.
this like a thing for Evo in the past?
Yeah, I remember
It was.
when we went there. Like, you got there was one year they wouldn't even let you bring water bottles in, and then there was where there's no water at all in the venue. You had to just straight up leave and go find you someplace that sold water that one year.
Yeah.
Bro, do you think about it like you're like, yo, you're at a tournament. These people are bitching and complaining while being at a tournament. Dog, you go stand on them concrete floors for goddamn 10 to 8 hours in a day and let me know how you feel.
Yeah.
It's brutal, dude. And especially by like day 2, you're going back to watch the homies, or you're still in your pool or whatever, and you go back and there's no water on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, at least I didn't have to. You have to pay for it, so I guess there's that. But I think they should have water stations in there.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
The big thing that everybody talks about is what they did for the arena finals, and I'm sure people have seen this, where there's like this massive line to get in that stretched the entire venue and wrapped around to the inside to the like entrance to get into the arena area, which they knew didn't have enough seats for everybody, but they charge everybody the same as if they were. So if anybody who doesn't know, like, Evo generally costs like about $100 to enter and like get your registration or whatever. And then once they came up with the idea of having this arena finals thing, they tack on another $100 for that day. So this year at Evo, there was no separate arena per se, but they just charged you the extra $100. So now it's $200 to get an Evo.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Which is crazy.
I'd rather have it be like it was last year.
100%.
Like, because we went last year, we couldn't get in finals. It was sold out. But I'm cool with that. I'm like, at least I didn't pay for that.
Right.
Kind of thing. So if you're gonna charge me $200 and I don't get to watch finals.
Now, I understand the idea that they were going for, and I'm not trying to say I don't get it. Basically, they want to have the arena. They realize that not everyone goes, even if they have the choice. So they have a certain percentage of seats for people, and then they also had like watch party stations for different streamers on all the like side stages along in the venue, which is okay in theory. They really just, one, they need more seats for the arena because people don't travel from all over the world necessarily to watch it on a stream. Like, I could watch it from a hotel room or whatever. Secondly, they had the venue open, which is nice because then you can play casuals and stuff, but because they didn't have enough seats, people started stealing the seats from the stations for games to watch the streams on the side. So not only is there not people upset that they're not getting in, people are also upset because they can't play casuals because people are stealing the seats to watch the watch parties.
That'll piss me off because I already know I'm not going. I don't care about. I've gone and experienced it, and it was a dope experience. But now it's like I've done that. I don't need to see, especially for me, because I'm not gonna try to sit there all. I'm long past to sit there and sit at finals all day, like back in the day, and watch every single game and everything. And I'm like I'm paid to Street Fighter, and the rest of the day I'm like, oh, venue's open. I'm gonna play some matches. If I couldn't sit down because everyone was still in here,
Just trying to get your Marvel 2 on, man.
We don't play on the Moss sticks no more. We don't have the hype for that, bro.
Yeah. So that was kind of whack. The other minor thing is that it doesn't make sense that the BYOC area is so far separated from the tournament area. Like they should make those a little bit closer together. I don't know if they're doing that because they want to make people walk through the artist alley in the arcade area just to get the traffic for people who want to get to the BYOC area. But it's kind of annoying when you have a bunch of tournament setups that are supposed to be used for tournaments, but people still want to get casuals. Evo is historically a hard place to get casuals unless you're doing the networking thing I mentioned before. So like always do that. That's also kind of annoying. But other than those three things, it was awesome. I love the arcade area. They had so many like different arcade games and stuff, and all different eras, all different kinds, rhythm games, fighting games, Initial D, this like crazy dance game where the whole floor like lights up.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
What's that game that I like? I think it's called Bimani or something like that with the cube with the 4x4 cubes. That game is awesome. I started playing that recently at freaking Cidercade right here in Dallas. So now whenever I travel to an arcade area, I'm looking for that because that game's
I want to go to Cidercade so bad. I went there one time and I had a blast. It was awesome.
Yeah, dude.
And I just need to revisit it. So we may have to link up and hit up Cidercade.
Yep. So that's my Evo experience. Like you did mention, I'm also a golfer. I started playing golf in 2022. So now Evo is also a little bit of a golf trip with me and my boys. Sosa, who I train with, is also, we picked up golf around the same time. So we go a couple days early. We get there either Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, play a tee time Wednesday, play a tee time Thursday, and then tournament stuff the rest of the week.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's pretty dope. The Evo trip, man, it's like I look for. I'm 43 years old. For those who don't know, like I'm super old in gamer years, but
gamer years.
Yeah, I still love it. Like it's my first time. Like every year.
Dog years. 43 in gamer years. Like this dude's 80, man. Like,
seriously. Seriously.
That's when you start stroking. That's when you get the long beard. You're slapping somebody because you got to straighten the stance up. This is straight kung fu master eyebrows in 40s.
Right. I'm still competing. I'll still bring it to your neck. You know what I'm saying? I actually feel like I'm playing better now than I ever have played. So
that's something we've talked about before on here too, because like we have CJ was on one. CJ's son is playing. CJ's son is 13, and like this dude just has the youngest reactions. Like, don't drive impact, dog, because he's gonna be ready. But like, I think as you get older, like, they say you lose your reactions, but you get smarter. So, like, I mean, we watch like some of the most like godlike players just kind of age with wisdom. Like Momochi's older too now, and that dude just made top 8 at Evo kind of thing. And it's just like you just learn to adapt and you play in a different way. So it's kind of cool because it's like you're playing with more knowledge, if that makes sense.
It almost makes me upset because I'll look back at old matches and I'll be like, bro, I had all the time in the world. I was in training mode 24/7, and look at the dumb. Like I didn't even think spacing wasn't even a concept to me. It was let me just get a hit. And now I'm looking, I was like, man, what a wasted talent, a wasted youth.
Yeah, I think we live in an era where there are some common tropes that are still accepted as truth that we don't actually know are true. Like it is true that you lose reaction time as you get older, but what's not necessarily well known is if you lose reaction time enough for it to matter for fighting games. You know, like there's like, you know, actions per minute and like in stuff like that, and like in shooting games there's also kind of metrics that are a little bit more well known, but I feel like fighting games are still a little bit more gray. And I feel like the common tropes that are used a lot of times are just unproven. And I feel like, obviously, I'm biased because I'm older. I feel like um, a lot of the times, people who are washed or too old to play, it's not a matter of them actually being old. It's actually more a matter of, are you willing, as an older male or female, but older adult, are you willing to prioritize your life in such a way that you make competing at a video game high enough priority for you to get your skills sharp enough to compete at the level that you see on stream all the time? I mean, it's a little bit easier for a college student to do that, or someone who's
Yep.
just out of college, someone in their early 20s, to make that type of choice. It's a lot harder for responsibility reasons, for social reasons, for somebody who's my age. I'm married with a kid, right? To make it a priority. Like, I am training for this. This is important to me.
Yeah.
And I feel like if more adults who are washed would make that choice, these young dudes would have a problem, like a
Yeah.
serious problem.
It's funny too, because like I had the same conversation with my son one night, because my son plays shooters. He plays a ton of shooters, and like he came in and was basically like, it basically came down to like, oh, I'm better than you, you're washed kind of thing. And I'm like, bro, all you do is play games. Like, I couldn't tell you the last time I was like, I got up, I went to work, I came home, I played games till I went to bed. I got up, I went to work, I played games till I went to bed. I couldn't tell you the last time I did that, kind of thing.
Mhm.
And like, yeah, you should be able to dust me in some shooters, dog. Like, I don't have that kind of time or dedication like you do, kind of thing. So I would expect you to,
Man,
do that
can you
kind of
imagine?
thing.
Like, so CJ's son Dom, he's 13. It's summer break. He plays Street Fighter 6 all day, bro. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm not. He's definitely good. He's definitely putting in some work. He had the second highest placing in the recent Capcom online tournament for our
Nice.
region. Second highest placing Colorado player. Only one
Mhm.
person was above him. I looked him that night. This man's playing on Knuckledu's stream. He got a 15 win streak. He
Mhm.
just he passed 2K MR recently. Like, so he's definitely putting in work. But I was like, man, boy, you making me wish.
Yeah.
Like, man, it's like you got all summer. Wake up, throw on Street Fighter 6, play play until you pass out, and then wake up it again. I was
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, and you got good in that play. Back in my day, second player was my foot on the joystick, so I could hold down back because the computer would glitch if you just tell it to block. It
Yeah.
would block unblockables.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
So
right, we've
yeah.
hit an hour, so I think this is the first time that we've done this podcast that we didn't get through everything I wanted to get through. We didn't even get through half the shit that I wanted to get through.
We gotta do
So
round two,
Ryan,
brother.
yeah, I'll say Ryan might be our first honorary. We need to get him back within the next couple of months to come back, and because I feel like we covered so much Evo stuff and kind of intro to him and stuff, but I really wanted to kind of dive into like, what are your thoughts on Tekken, and more background story on yourself, and maybe
Mhm.
kind of ideas on the FGC as a whole. And we didn't get to do any of that stuff, so we definitely will have to have you back on,
I would love to.
in a month or so, so we can finish this up, because I really do feel like this was a great conversation. But I would love to get more kind of back end on you personally, and less like just event kind of stuff. And I want to talk about like the Texas FGC, and things along those lines. But I do always like to end like the podcast on like a fun kind of note. So we can go with, what's your favorite fighting game of all time, or we can go, what is your proudest achievement that you've had so far?
Oh man, that's a great question. So I actually don't have a singular favorite fighting game, but I'll tell you what my favorites are for the games that I play, I guess.
Okay.
I guess they're favorite for different reasons. I don't know. I think part of the reason why we go we go so long is because I don't have simple answers.
Yeah, no, that's
Sorry.
that's the whole point though. Like,
uh,
if I wanted to be quick, I'd have wrapped it up in 20 minutes, and I'd have
yeah,
been like, yo, just write these answers back to me.
right. So the two games that I think have been most instrumental or huge in my career, um, obviously I have to say Soul Calibur 2 because that's what started everything for me. Um,
So
And
pause there. I know this is gonna go a little bit long because I had this question when you said it earlier and I forgot because I'm genuinely curious. So in Soul Calibur 2, when you guys had tournaments, what did you do about the console characters? Like,
I
did
mean,
you
they
just not
were
play them or
what did we do? I
like,
think
oh, I play Link, but like the tournaments are ran on PS2 kind of
right.
thing. So
Yeah, so I think for the most part they might have been banned. Like
okay.
I think I remember Heihachi being banned and Spawn and Link being banned, and then like some tournaments might allow them here and there, but for the most part, I don't think they were
I'd be hot. Like, yo, Spawn is one of my favorite like superheroes, and like you finally put him in a game, and then I don't even get to play him.
in Soul Calibur 4, they had the Apprentice on all
Mm.
consoles and
Yeah,
allowed. I remember Darth Vader being allowed as well.
but was Yoda?
Yoda
Yoda,
was
I
banned.
don't think
I
he
think Yoda was
was.
banned because of size, if I recall
Yeah,
correctly.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah,
that's what I thought.
Yeah, I remember
He was
that.
like the odd job of GoldenEye back in the
Yeah,
day
he was too
when your
small to
homies played
stand.
odd job. I'm like, stop cheating, bro.
yeah. So yeah, Soul Calibur 2. As far as my competitive career, like Soul Calibur 2, Tekken 5, Tekken 6. Like I had a lot of like experiences, just like with really close friends. I lived in House of Goons at that time. I'm talking about the House of Goons, a whole nother episode about the
Yeah,
House of
I'm
Goons.
gonna write this down because I do
Uh,
want to talk about that. And I'll
uh,
forget.
but as competitively, I feel like Tekken 7 had a huge impact on me as far as like the type of experiences I had in the modern era of games. I would say in the pre-modern era, the biggest thing I had is I actually went to a tournament in Colorado, run by our boy Dancing Fighter G.
Mm. Mm.
My boy,
It's
shout
your
out to
boy,
them. Dude,
Fighter
Yo,
G.
it's me.
yo, it's Dancing
Yo,
Fighter
it's
G.
Digimon G.
My boy. He ran a tournament out there, and I won both the team tournament and singles tournament for Soul Calibur 4.
Was it
Um,
Colorado Cutthroat C3?
yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
yes, yes.
You got paid?
I did get paid actually.
All
I
right.
did. And then in Tekken 7, I didn't win any big tournaments. I won low tier city here that was at the esports stadium. That was probably my best win because I got the ring that
Nice.
says like Tekken 7 on it, has my name and like it was sick.
Nice.
And then at Combo Breaker, I had a hype win on stream against like an old school lady player, and it was like super hype, people cheering, whatever. So those are kind of like my bigger moments in Tekken 7. And then Tekken 8, I think it's the best Tekken personally.
Nice.
All right,
So
we're gonna have
far.
to. I have that
Yeah.
on our list on
So I'm
thoughts on
definitely
Tekken 8.
interested in that conversation because
yeah.
I see the tweets. I've been seeing the tweets, and again, I have no real perspective because Tekken 8 is the first time I've ever put real time into a Tekken. So I have
'cause
no
Ryan and I
perspective.
kind of briefly talked about this at work, so I would love to deep dive into that more so as well.
Mhm.
So I really do think we need to have you back on, because
Would love to.
we only covered 4 questions total, and I would like to get some more, non-Evo conversation going, and I think we're just kind of missing that tonight. So we'll definitely have to have Ryan back, because I have a laundry list of questions that like are picking my brain kind of thing, because it's a different perspective for Chris and I as well, because like we play Street Fighter, so it's like cool to have somebody that plays Tekken, and but also not like, oh, he plays a different game, but also to have like the knowledge and like longevity that you've had within the FGC. Like we've had some time too, but like, bro, I was not traveling in 2003 or 4 kind of thing. Like I didn't even graduate high school till 06. So like I didn't start playing until like seriously like 08 kind of thing. So like it's just cool to see that kind of perspective, because you've seen from the arcades peak doing all this stuff to like dry spot in fighting
Yeah.
games where they almost died kind of thing, and then that you're in that back up kind of thing, and it's
Yeah.
I feel like fighting games have just never stopped growing since Street Fighter 4 kind of thing. Like people
Yeah,
made hate or dislike Street Fighter 4 or whatever, but like at the same time, like they brought back FGC for a bit because it was very stagnant and like almost died kind of thing, and then like Street Fighter
I
4
thought I was gonna
dropped
be
and
done. I thought
yeah.
like it is so funny to be like I thought I was done because I like honestly, I had started playing in like '04, and by '09, I was like, bro, I'm getting tired of this shit I'm playing. And then Street
Playing
Fighter
the same
4
two games.
come
Yeah.
out. It's like I'm playing the same game. I'm tired of playing CVS 2 and Marvel 2, and no one
Yeah,
wants to play Third Strike.
I have a unpopular opinion about that actually. I don't think fighting games ever had a chance of dying ever. I think fighting games represent the essence of the human condition, like me versus you, and who's
Oh,
better.
completely agreed. I
Like,
don't want to say dying. I think dying may be too harsh. I feel like fighting games were kind of
Mhm.
stagnant, I should say.
I could
Where
see that.
I feel like it was hardcore. It's not like how it is today. Like back in the day, it was like, yo, hardcore people were playing fighting games kind of thing. Like you loved that genre kind of thing. And now like
Mhm.
you go to Evo and it's like a con.
Yeah,
Like I watched Justin Wong walk around and ask people questions, and like all it was like, who's this character? And it was like Joe from KOF. And they were like,
yeah,
tell me what game it's from. I'm like,
yeah,
damn, like
yeah.
this
That's
is
true.
basic stuff. And then like some people be like, oh, that's Terry. I know him because he's in Smash Bros. And you're like,
Yeah,
all right.
I agree. Yeah, it's definitely because like even though I've never been hardcore part of scenes, I'm like I know who Jop is, I know who Eddie Piston is, I know who the Realist is, I know who. I mean, R.I.P. To Flo. Like I knew Flo
Yeah,
because
man.
of
RIP
being
to Flo,
To be a
sure.
Soul Calibur player before we started playing Street Fighter 4 together and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So it's like you even if you weren't part of like you could be really isolated these days and be like who and
Right.
where before it's like, nah, even at least the top players, I'm like, yeah, I know those names, and I never, like I said, I never played a 3D game seriously, and it'd be
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's just you couldn't avoid those good players, those large names, and now you can be really isolated. So it's definitely so different compared to
Yeah,
I just feel
some.
like
that's
we're in that
true.
genre now where like we're like the hip hop heads. Cause like hip hop's the same kind of way. Like rap music nowadays, it's just like there's so many new artists and stuff, and people like we're part of that time where like we respected what it was before because we got to see the arcade times
Yeah,
to, where it wasn't even Evo, it was Battle by the Bay type of thing,
Yeah.
kind of thing, and you got to see it turn into what it is now, kind of thing,
hmm
and it's just a different kind of
it
perspective and
is
outlook.
very
So,
different for sure, for sure.
all
By
right,
the way,
so
write this down for part two.
okay,
Uh, an interesting story about uh the genesis of Gamer B's superstardom at Evo. About how that happened. If we ever
okay,
get to talk about an Evo experience, that's very. I've told this story a couple times, but
okay. I
Okay.
would love
yeah,
to hear that because
yeah,
Gamer B was one of my favorites
yeah.
because he played characters I played. So any last shout outs that you want to give before we let Chris send us off?
Uh, yeah. I mean, just I don't know. It's hard to give specific shout outs. I guess shout out to my boy Eddie Pistons, all the Dallas people, the old school Dallas people. Um, I'm originally from Southern California, but I'm definitely like a son of the Dallas FGC. Like definitely, I grew up FGC wise here, and it definitely is a huge part of my life. Shout out to my boys, the training partners, my two clowns, Realist and Sosa, definitely in this era of my career in my life. They've been with me through a lot of stuff. Shout out to the wife and kid, of course. Got to shout out the family. It takes a village. Hopefully they stick with me on this sometimes annoying ride of being a competitive gamer. Um, and yeah, shout out to.
I feel like every community has a Sosa, by the way.
Yeah.
We have a Sosa in Colorado.
Who's also a Tekken player.
Yeah, who's
There
also
you
a
go.
second player.
Yep. Hmm.
All right, I think this is a great conversation. I definitely look forward to the part two. So
Yeah,
y'all
me
be on
too.
the lookout. If y'all made it this far into the video, be on the lookout for part two. That being said, I'm gonna let my boy Chris send us off.
You know what it is, guys. What about peace? Peace.